Here are 7 ways to create a positive first impression. Number 1, smile. Number 2, mirroring. Number 3, setting high expectations. Number 4, expressing genuine interest. 5, getting to know people on a first-name basis. Number 6 is giving genuine compliments. And number 7, making someone feel important. As we're going to restate in this program, the research by Ekman and Levinson is pretty clear. Full-face smiles facilitated by the eye muscles and the mouth muscles map with centers of the brain that elicit feelings of elation, well-being, and happiness. Fake smiles, not affected. So basically what this is saying is your facial expressions affect your mood. When you're sincerely smiling, that maps with centers of the brain that cause you to feel good. Further, people have a tendency to unconsciously and reflexively mimic the facial expressions of other people around them. I'll give you an example. You ever walk in on the tail end of a joke? Now everyone's laughing and you miss the punchline, yet you still laugh or at least smile. Why? Well, because everybody else is. According to Cogden and Ogston, reflexive mimicking is a biological mechanism to facilitate communication and social acceptance necessary for survival. Think about this. The most beautiful form of communication at its sweetest and purest is watching a mother feed her baby. She opens her mouth and the baby reflexively opens his. Now, according to research by Meltzoff and Moore, this is innate, and this is common with every caregiver and their child. And further, research also shows us that this response, it stays with us the rest of our life. So we can conclude that how we express ourselves physically on a daily basis not only has a profound effect on how we feel, but how others feel when they're around us. People seek out other people who make them feel good. Think about the last time you were in love. How did that person make you feel? Well, since you can't fake a genuine smile, you have to become the guardian of your own mind. In other words, work every single day on things that put you in a positive state prior to work. Read or listen to things that inspire you, that help develop you, even if just for 10 minutes. Focus on things within your work that help you, not things that detract from the image you want to project. And most of all, stay away from negative people and negative trainers in your facility who act like energy vampires by sucking the life out of you. People who are complaining about the company, the region you're in, the clients they have, those people are probably not busy. If they are busy, they're probably not going to be busy for very long. As a matter of fact, they're not going to be employed for very long. You don't want to be waiting on the unemployment line with them, so extricate yourself from them as often and as early as possible. In 20 years of research at Harvard University, Dr. David McKellen and his associates arrived at a conclusion. The conclusion is that all of us, more likely than not, are going to increasingly become like the people we associate with most. He called this affiliation theory. Stay around people who lift you emotionally and help you grow, so you project outwardly what you want people to feel inwardly whenever they're around you. Ekman and Fresen proposed that movement is hardwired into the brain centers that control emotion. When you mirror someone closely, you're sending the same messages to your brain that they're sending to theirs. This greatly increases the feeling of empathy between you and another person. Therefore, it's even possible for you to start to feel the way another person is feeling when you're speaking with them. At that point, without any personal conversation, you can still cultivate a feeling between you and a member that you are exactly like them. And this is essential because the more similar you are, the less apprehensive they'll be, and you'll give greater assurance and they'll have greater trust in you. And this happens every single time you meet someone and you just get that feeling where, you know, I know we just met, but I feel like I've known you for so long. You ever get that? That's exactly what's happening in that scenario. So pay attention to the other person, how they're sitting, how they're moving, and match and mirror. Mirroring someone does not require mastery. Like we'll say elsewhere in this program, it just simply requires that you're interested enough to pay attention. One of the most encouraging things that we can ever do for someone is to express our belief in their ability. When we demonstrate our belief in someone, especially members in our club and our clients, the odds are that they're going to reciprocate by holding us in high regard as well. One way to express our belief in someone is to have high expectations of them, not to be confused with being demanding. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe said that treat people not as they are, but as they ought to be, and then they will become what they are capable of being. An experiment conducted by Rosenthal and Jacobson, teachers in a school district in the San Francisco Bay Area were randomly selected and told that based on multiple points of evaluation, they were the most talented teachers in the entire school district. Further, they were given the names of students who were said to be intellectually gifted and therefore were going to be put into their class and expected to perform exceedingly well throughout the school year. In truth, the teachers and the students were randomly selected. However, due to the teachers' high self-expectancy, combined with the elevated expectations of their supposedly gifted pupils, the students that were identified as gifted demonstrated an average increase of over 10 points on their IQ scores by the conclusion of the school year. People usually perform in accordance with what other people expect from them. This is known as the Pygmalion effect. If you ever saw the movie West Side Story, you remember that there was this magical scene between Tony and Maria. They're at a school dance and they notice each other for the first time. As their eyes meet, they become mesmerized. The lights start to fade out, and the voices in the crowded room seem to diminish and grow silent. Soon, all that's left in the complete darkness is Tony and Maria, each with a spotlight on them. You can almost feel their hearts pounding. As far as they're concerned, nothing or no one exists besides them. They're completely infatuated. When you're with your clients or when you're with a particular member, imagine that no one else in the world exists except for them. Focus all of your energy and intention not on what you want to say, not on your qualifications, your company, your products, but on them. Imagine West Side Story, except in this case, there's only one spotlight that you and your client can share. The more that spotlight's on you, the less the chance that they'll ever become a client. The more the spotlight's on them, their goals, their beliefs, their past experiences, their fears, their desires, the greater the probability it is that they'll hire you. Our members and our clients' favorite subject is themselves. You can enhance the impression that someone has of you by simply asking, remembering, and using their name in conversation. Think about the people you know who you feel most comfortable around, the people you enjoy most. Is there anyone in that group that you're not on a first name basis with? Don't you address people you're most fond of by their first name? See, in some health club environments, addressing individuals by their surname may not be appropriate, but this is far from the norm. Growing up, think about people you addressed by their surname, usually teachers, the dean, authority figures, and usually when you came face to face with one of these people, it's because you got caught in a bit of mischief and you weren't happy. And this might not be the type of relationship we're aiming for. This might not be the type of association we're looking to evoke either with us or our client. Now let's take a look at giving genuine compliments. Flattery is not the same thing as a compliment. See, flattery can easily be taken as insincere, tacky, and in some cases, outright offensive. Flattery is a general remark with nothing to substantiate it. Hey, you're looking pretty good. Not really appropriate. A compliment is a sincere comment demonstrating recognition for a specific action or attribute. We can't overstate throughout this certification that whatever you reinforce persists. If your member is working out with you and they give an obvious effort on a piece of exercise equipment, a very effective way to make them feel good about you, themselves, and increase the likelihood that they're going to reproduce that level of effort in the future is to say something like, "Wow, Jane, I noticed you gave a real extra effort on that set. I think that was outstanding. It demonstrates you got a lot of work ethic and the discipline that you're going to need to really get good results. You should feel quite proud of yourself." Dr. William James said that the deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. One way to make people feel appreciated is to first listen without interruption or judgment, to see them in an unconditional positive regard, and suspend our inclinations to interject our opinions into everything they're saying to us. Next, it does us very good to go out of our way, even in little ways, to show our members, show our clients that they're important enough to us so that we would think of them and take action on their behalf. People pay attention to the expressed needs of other people. And if you pay attention to someone else's expressed needs, they will appreciate you and hold you in high regard for it. Let's say you spoke to someone and they mentioned that they're a fan of a certain sport. Well, later on in the newspaper, you found an article or the highlights of last night's game. Let's say you sent them a clipping. Even if they can get that information on their own, it shows them that you took enough time and effort and courtesy to think of them. Another way is something as simple as a handwritten note thanking them for the time that they spent with you. Anything that expresses that someone was important enough to take time out of your day and acknowledge is effective. When communicating with new clients, empathy is an essential prerequisite to developing a successful relationship. Communicating with empathy is not the same thing as communicating with sympathy. Sympathy is when you feel for someone. Empathy is when you feel with someone. Empathy is the ability to imaginatively project yourself into the thoughts and the feelings of another person. When we have sympathy for a client, we might pity them or be tempted to constantly interject our advice, even though it's divorced from their personal perspective. This isn't very helpful. What they need is a solution. With empathy, we can work together cooperatively to help find ways to help them get more of what they want and avoid what they don't want. As trainers, our knowledge and expertise is of very little to even no value unless we communicate it in a way that our clients are responsive to. If not, our knowledge actually lacks tangible value to the client. In the marketplace, it's not really what you know, but how well you're able to use what you know to solve problems that really counts. Performance is the absolute measure of value. Due to reasons well outside the scope of this subject matter, some clients will hire you, spend time and money for your expertise, and then argue with you about every solution that you propose. It's going to come in the form of, I don't like that exercise. I don't want to do that. I can't. But wait, what about? And believe me, the list goes on and on and on. After you've had a significant amount of trust, rapport, and respect that comes from demonstrating your credibility over and over again, you'll be able to respond to objections like that with something like, well, I want you to do that because I'm your trainer. If you're going to hire me, you need to trust my expertise, just do it and listen to me. And you know what? That's going to be very effective for you. Just try that with a new client, and you might be very disappointed, however, at his or her response. Your client might take that to mean, rather, that you're being dismissive and invalidating his thoughts, feelings, and preferences. And in some cases, depending on the personality type, your client might even consider that outright combative. A sympathetic approach would be, okay, I know you don't like that exercise, Bill. You don't have to do that. Is there something else you would prefer to do instead? That approach isn't really going to work as well. I mean, ironically, your client might interpret that as being too submissive. After all, they're paying you for expertise and direction. All they really want is to have their thoughts and feelings acknowledged, respected. A sympathetic approach might make your client a bit nervous that you're not in complete control of the process, because if you were, you would give them more direction rather than taking complete direction from them. An empathetic approach is one where you would try to understand the client's feelings and guide them toward a solution that considers their perspective. See, it allows him to benefit from the most appropriate solution given his goals, needs, wants, and abilities, but at the same time, it gives direction. Here's an example of an empathetic approach. First, you would state the reason why you want him to perform an exercise and exactly how it benefits him. How is this going to help him achieve his goal? In other words, he really doesn't care that balance training is going to help him improve neuromuscular stabilization. What your client cares about is it's going to help him to participate in recreational activities with his family in a way that's safe and effective so he can bond with them on the weekends without worrying about whether or not he's going to get hurt and have to take off from work and lose income. He may also care that active rest in the middle of his workout is going to help him to burn a lot more calories than a passive rest, which might help him achieve his goal of weight loss just a little bit faster. You would ask questions such as, what is it about this exercise that you prefer? What makes it so attractive to you? Is it the benefit you think you're going to achieve, Bill? Or is it just fun? Or is it something else? Am I missing something? Next is, well, what's the reason why you don't want to do the exercise I just recommended? Do you not believe it's going to work for you? Do you think it's going to be too hard? Does it bore you, quite honestly? Or again, am I leaving something out? So let's say you find out that your client doesn't want to do the exercise because he feels he won't be able to do it properly, and he's going to be embarrassed struggling with an exercise in the middle of the floor where all the rest of the members can see. And he enjoys his exercise. He believes that the exercises he does works for him. Well, you have a choice. You can argue with the person at that point, or you could just incorporate his exercise and suggest a regressed version of your own that won't be as conspicuous and therefore won't be as embarrassing. See, this allows you to use empathy to make your client feel validated and still demonstrate your skill and your worth as a professional. Communicating with humility. Communicating with humility means that we understand that it doesn't matter who's right, but rather what's right for the client. When I first became a trainer, I thought that if I could just convince people that I was the smartest person in the gym, that would secure my future. Because once I proved to you that I was smarter than every other trainer, who else are you going to go to achieve your personal training goals? So anytime somebody would ask me a question, I would tell them about the Krebs cycle, fiber type distribution. I would give them a lesson in functional anatomy. Half the time they just asked me, like, where the washroom was, and I used that as an excuse to grab onto them and unload on them. Well, I got very upset because I started to notice that seemingly less technical competent trainers, unlike myself, were doing things in fitness that I never thought were possible, like driving a car, paying their bills, keeping their lights turned on. What I failed to understand is it wasn't how smart I was that impressed people, it's how well they could relate to what I'm saying, how well I could speak their language. Let's talk about listening empathetically. Review the information in Client Orientation Part 2. We cover how to use questions and empathetic listening in our conversations. One of the most important roles we have as a fitness professional is that of an educator. Now, a lot of people think that education means hammering people with information. The Latin root of the word education is educo, which translates literally into to educe, to draw out. Listening with empathy will assist you in the education of your client by encouraging them to speak, and that's going to give you cues as the right questions to ask. And if you know the right questions to ask, it's going to help you help them to take the actions necessary to achieve the results they desire. Never argue. There's a premise in neurolinguistic programming that people do the best they can with the resources they have. Our clients don't hold on to their beliefs because they think their beliefs are wrong, obviously. They believe what they believe because either consciously or subconsciously, they feel that those beliefs either help them or protect them. See, our clients believe that we have the knowledge to help them. If they didn't believe that, would they have hired us in the first place? See, there's no need to convince our clients that we're smarter than they are or that we know more. Our job is to respect what they believe and help them identify why they believe it and give them the reassurance that if they follow our direction, it's not only going to work out for them in the end, but they're going to be both safe, physically and emotionally, throughout the entire process. The decision that every fitness professional needs to make is whether or not it's more important for us to be right or more important for us to be effective. We're only evaluated by our clients based on how effective we are. They really don't care if we're right. We care that what we're doing and what we're saying works. The more we try to prove to our clients that we're right and the beliefs that they have are wrong, the more we force them to cling on to those beliefs with greater tenacity. Let's discuss some administration issues. The administration duties of a trainer may include some or all of the following. These things include recording client training sessions, taking notes, logging the progress of your clients, scheduling, personal time management, completion and filing of incident reports, remaining current in certifications, remaining current in CPR, first aid, understanding facility operations, repair and maintenance logs. All of these are really important. They show up in multiple areas within the industry. Failure to keep up with administrative duties might result in, well, to begin with, an inconvenience to or the decrease in the quality of the service that you're providing to your members and your clients. It might also result in the necessity for you as a fitness professional to work harder and harder to accomplish the same level of productivity within a given period of time. That might also lead to unnecessary work that just results in nothing but anxiety and stress for you. All of that can be avoided. In the event that an incident should occur, administrative negligence could result in you exposing yourself to really high levels of litigation. After World War II, the Japanese were determined to rebuild their economy. With the guidance of statistician Professor W. Edwards Demings, the Japanese employed strategies aimed at improving quality as a means of decreasing costs while increasing productivity and market share. They were so effective with these initiatives that decades later, the Japanese had established themselves as an economic leader in the world market. One of the principles that emerged out of the revitalization of Japan was the principle of Kaizen. Kaizen means continuous improvement. It's derived from the word that comes from the Japanese kai, meaning school, and the word zen, which means wisdom. Kaizen is not just a business philosophy, it's a fact of life. Each of us knows when we're growing, and we know when we're in a state of entropy. Entropy creates in us a feeling that we are living, as the philosopher Henry David Thoreau said, lives of quiet desperation. Think about a time in your life when you felt happy, confident, and energized. More likely than not, it was a time when you were learning, growing, getting better. What we've done for our clients in the past can only take us so far. We need to reinvent ourselves daily to bring our best game into the workplace and help our clients grow. The relationship that we have with our client can never be taken for granted. If our client cannot honestly answer the question, in what way has my day been made better as a result of my session with my trainer, we run the risk of losing that client. Every 30 days, conduct a quality control appraisal with each one of your clients. You want to identify what aspect of your training have you really enjoyed the most, what results have you noticed the most, and are there any expectations that you've had of me that I haven't met yet? What could have made your experience with me even better? On a scale from 1 to 10, where are you in terms of satisfaction? If they say they're at a 6, the next question has to be, what would it take to make it a 7? And like we discussed elsewhere, what would it take to make it a 6? What is the most important goal for you to accomplish within the next 30 days and 90 days? See, by delivering the very best service you can, by anticipating the needs of your client and consistently seeking their feedback pertaining to their highest levels of satisfaction, you will reap significant benefits in your business. Let's say you have 10 clients, and each client trains with you an average of twice per week. Well, if you lost just one client per month because you neglected them or they had an area of unexpressed dissatisfaction, at first that might seem inconsequential. Yet if you got paid $25 an hour at 2 sessions per week, that would be a loss of $200 per month. For some people, that's an entire car payment. A consistent loss of 1 client per month would compound annually. That's 12 clients per year. Now we're not talking about the loss of a car payment. That could be the loss of a zip code. Client equity is the comparison in the cost associated with acquiring a client and retaining that client versus the net profit those activities yield. Many companies use what's called an acquisition equity analysis. First, you would determine the number of prospects that were acquired over a recorded period of time. Let's say that you spoke to 4 members every single day, or if you work outside of a health club environment, 4 prospects every single day, 5 days per week. Well, that would equal about 20 people per week. 20 people a week would add up to about 80 people per month. The next thing you would do, step 2, is you would measure the marketing, servicing, and time costs associated with the acquisition. Now let's say you didn't even factor in, mail, media, publications, just your time. And it takes you about 2 hours a day to present to 4 prospects. Well, that's 10 hours per week, and that's about 40 hours per month. Well, step number 3 is you would determine the number of prospects that became clients, and at a 20% closing ratio, which is very, very good, by the way, that means 20% of 80 people per month equals 16. You got 16 new clients in a month. Well, step 4 is you would determine the gross revenue produced from the customers and clients. Let's say that the revenue you produced in a month was $1,000 per client. Well, you would take 1,000 and you multiply that. Well, that's 16,000, right, from all of those. You would subtract the total cost from the gross revenue. So let's say you make an equivalent about $100 an hour. The last step is you would divide the acquisition cost by the new number of clients attained. So if the acquisition cost was about 4,000, 100 per hour, 400 hours spent prospecting, divide that by 16, the number of new clients, you're left with 250. It can cost you hundreds of dollars in terms of your time and energy to go out and acquire a brand new client. The point is, it is significantly less expensive to keep a client by keeping them happy than it is to go out and constantly have to replace the ones that you lose because of neglect. What can we do to maximize our chance of success? Ari Djias, former Shell executive and author of the book The Living Company, says, "The ability to learn faster than your competitors may be the only competitive advantage." Now, notice the choice in language. Now, that quote could have easily been that the ability to learn faster than your competitors is a sustainable advantage, but no, that's not what was said. What was said is it may be the only sustainable advantage. See, that statement should really scare you just a little, but excite you a whole lot, because it can be taken to mean that you, me, the rest of us, if we're not learning fast, we're becoming obsolete fast. However, if we're willing to learn and reinvent ourselves consistently, then we're exploiting the only competitive advantage that exists. In a world where job security means keeping yourself the most employable option amongst other professionals, this is really good news for those who get it. It's tragic news for those who don't. The skills that are essential to your success today, they might be obsolete or even irrelevant tomorrow. As change progresses, it's going to get faster and faster. The consumer's complexity and acuity for information will also start to accelerate. Therefore, you need to learn and assimilate information faster and faster and employ that information in ways that benefit the customer. Futurist and social scientist Dr. James Canton said, "There have been more changes in terms of innovation in the past 35 years than in the previous 5,000 years. He goes on to say, "That's just the beginning. There is nothing we can do to maximize our chance of success other than maximize our degree and rate of learning. The only guarantee is there are no guarantees. What you do daily determines who you become permanently." 20 minutes of personal development or something that really inspires you every single day is recommended. In addition, we also recommend 20 minutes of professional development. That means every day working on things that increase your personal management, your communication skills, or any business-related skill that helps you achieve your professional goals, as well as 20 minutes a day of technical development, anatomy, kinesiology, biomechanics, physiology. Also, let's take learning and break it down into its simplest form. If an hour a day, breaking down 3 different subject matters into 20-minute bits is not for you, let's say you decided to start off by just reading 2 articles a day. If you did that 5 days a week, you will have read 10 articles per week. That's 50 weeks per year, equaling 500 articles a year. Within 2 years, you would have read 1,000 articles. In the next 5 years, you would have read 2,500 articles. That would make you one of the top experts in your field. Well, if it's so easy, just 2 articles a day, how come everyone doesn't do it? Because easy to do is also very easy not to do. See, but if you did that, you would know more about your industry than most other people. You would be able to recognize and solve more problems than average fitness professionals. And since we're all in some degree or another professionally paid problem solvers, the more problems you're able to recognize and solve for, the more problems you're going to be entrusted with to a much greater degree than your peers. Consider this. Let's say you would download from a website audio programs, or information pertaining to the fitness industry or pertaining to some form of communication or some form of persuasion, influence, anything that helps you to be better as a fitness professional. And let's say you did that 1 hour a day, which is about the amount of time the average person spends in their car instead of listening to the radio. Well, if you did that 5 days per week, that's 240 hours of professional development. That's like taking a full semester in university on success mastery. Your car literally becomes a university on wheels. Here's a couple of questions you need to ask yourself. What 1 to 2 skills, if you mastered, would have the greatest impact on your career and the achievement of your goals? What do you want to be known for the most? What skills are you going to need to develop to get you there? What do you want to have in your career or life that you don't have currently? What do you need to learn, or who do you need to become in order to change your situation? So you might have been in this industry for a long time, or you may just be entering it right now. But regardless of what you've done in the past, you can achieve almost anything if you're willing to pay the price. Les Brown says that in order to achieve something you've never achieved before, you must become someone you have never been before. Customer service. What do people want and expect when they choose a personal trainer? Let's take a look. The first thing that they want is accountability. They want you to do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. They don't care how talented you are, how smart you are, how well you treat them. Is if every morning they have a 6 a.m. appointment and you traditionally show up at 6 a.m., which means they don't get started till 6:05. What's even worse is if they have an appointment at 6 a.m. and you show up at 6:05, 6:10, beyond that, it doesn't really matter what else you do. You've broken trust with them and you've let them down. See, but once that you're accountable to do what you said you were going to do, you no longer get any recognition for it because they expected you to do that in the first place. After that, they want to be treated with courtesy. They want to be made to feel important. And once you treat someone with courtesy and make them feel that they're important, well, then they expect partnership. Partnership simply means they want you to take their goals, their dreams, their aspirations, their problems as seriously as they do. They want you to offer them the best choice and best options to choose from. See, but here's the best thing about this diagram. After you've demonstrated accountability, you've built trust, you've demonstrated courtesy, that you respect the individual, and you've proven to them that you actually are a partnership, what they want from you is direction. Just tell me what to do. Tell me what exercises to do. Tell me what to buy. Tell me how many more sessions I need. But until you successfully prove yourself in the first 3 levels, you never get to the highest level of customer or client expectation. Pine and Gilmore, in their book, The Experience Economy, Work is Theater, and Every Business is a Stage, said that experiences are as distinct from services as services are from goods. Think about what we do as a Broadway production. Imagine you're going to see a Broadway production and you show up and the person at ticket sales was rude to you. Well, that got you a little bit cross. Then you met the usher and the ushers really couldn't find your seat. They're walking you over. Now you're getting into the theater late because of their delay. You're tripping over people. You spill your drink on someone's lap. They get into an argument. You get into a fight. Then the performers come out. The actors, the orchestra, everyone's brilliant, but you're already upset. Does that affect your experience? Absolutely. See, the fact of the matter is everything counts. If one element of your experience is off, it can ruin your whole experience watching that performance, watching that Broadway play. Look at it this way. Within your facility, membership, or your consultants, they're your ticket sales. Front desk, they're your ushers. And you in the fitness department, personal trainers, group exercise instructors, they're the performers, they're the actors, they're the orchestra. Operations. Well, operations are your stagehands, they're your prop masters. They deal with the choreography of everything that happens in the facility. Your housekeeping department, well, those are your gaffers. They take care of lighting, tape. They're the catwalkers. They deal with backdrops. And management of the facility, well, that's the stage manager. That's the lighting director. That's the conductor of the orchestra. If one of these elements is off, it affects the quality of the entire performance. What do people not want from a personal trainer? People don't want to second guess you. They want to know that they're more than just a job to you, that they're personally investing in themselves and you're personally investing in them. They don't want to wonder whether or not they've made the right hiring decision. They don't want to be uncertain about whether or not we're going to show up on time, and if we do show up, whether or not we're going to be mentally present in addition to being physically there because we went out last night and we stayed out to 2 o'clock in the morning. They don't want to hear our problems. They couldn't care less what our grievances are or what's happening in our romantic relationships. They want to know that we are 100% focused on them 100% of the time. Imagine that you're traveling abroad, and after experiencing many unforeseen delays and much aggravation, you arrive, well, finally, at your destination. You arrive, but your bags don't. Now, your baggage has everything you need for both your leisure time and your work. Now, you're desperate at this point because you have to take care of some very important things as early as tomorrow morning. So you call the customer service line as they instructed you to do at the airport. Not only is the person on the other line clueless as to the whereabouts of your baggage, they seem completely disinterested and detached about finding you a solution. Finally, because you're so persistent, the person on the other end of the line is exasperated and they tell you, "I'm sorry, sir, but I only work here." You're going through torture, but you're apparently alone in solving your problem because she only works there. Your clients never want to feel like they're alone in the achievement of their goals. They should never ever hear, "It's not my job, I just work here," and they should never hear things, "Well, they." When it comes to your company, your colleagues, there's no such word as they. It's us, it's we. So essentially, your clients don't want to have to wonder, they don't want to have to second guess, they want assurance and security, and out of you, they want commitment, integrity, advocacy, and most of all, they just want to know, session by session, that they've made the right decision. And they absolutely deserve it.